Hi, how's it going? This is Don here. This is the video I was saying I would make about regarding the wrist technique and the elbow technique and in the Billy Ward forum. Anyways, let's see here. I got some notes so I can try to cover everything. Let's start off with Gladstone technique, the Mike Mangini technique, which is just, you know, it's the all in the wrist stuff. Like that, you know. There's a fantastic video on YouTube you can check out with a time warp. You can just YouTube up time warp and Mike Mangini, and you'll just see some really great slow motion video of all of this. And find out a lot about it. And it's a great technique. You can play, you know, 1,000 miles a minute. The only caveat is that you can't play very loud with this because you know, it's all in the wrist, and the wrist is a really great you know, joint, and there's lots of things that you can do with the wrist, but there's not really a huge range of motion. So with the you know, the wrist here, you know, you can it only goes back about this far. That's about as far as you can pull it. You know, once you start getting up in this area, this is a hyperextension. You start to get too far. You know, you start to get resistance from, you know, basically from your body. You know, the tendons are pulling it back. And to go any farther than this, you really have to just, your tendons are just getting stretched every single time. You know, and this, you know, and back down to there. You can feel it. You can push. I mean, you can go pretty far without it hurting, but you know, once or twice is fine, 100 times is fine, you know, but 1,000 times, 30,000 times a day, you know, which, you know, a 4-hour show might be, then that's really going to start to hurt. You know, and just another example of hyperextension is, you know, so the finger will go pretty far back here, you know, but there's a point there where you just start to get that resistance, and you just generally want to stay in the range of motion where you're not getting that resistance. And if you do this 100 times, 500 times, no problem, 1,000 times, you know, it's just going to start hurting. You're going to start getting pain in this joint. I mean, it's a logical conclusion. Of course it's going to work like that if you're not going to, you know, if you're going to be, you know, using your body in a way that it really just wasn't designed to move like. So you know, and that's what Jay Weinberg is doing. So he is completely, if you watch, he's got that bullwhip thing, but all of that motion is in the wrist. So he's just, you know, he's moving his elbow up and down using the hinge joint, which I'll talk about in a second. But it's basically like the Gladstone technique, you know, to the limits of human movement, which is just not a good idea. You know, so he's just going. You know, it's just that, you know, so at the high point, it's all the way down, at the, you know, and when he's coming down, it's all the way that way. So it's the full range of motion, and it's moving so fast, you know, that, you know, there's actually quite a lot of stress on the wrist at that point. And, you know, a few times, and occasionally, and sometimes is no problem. You know, the human body is amazing, but again and again and again and again and again, there's going to start to be problems. So, yeah. So, and this is what he should be doing, which is incorporating parts of Moeller technique. You know, at least my understanding of Moeller is that it has a lot more to do with elbow rotation. So, there are two joints in the elbow. One of them is a hinge. So the very point here of the elbow is the ulna. There's, you know, so you got the two arm bones here that are parallel. I've drawn on my arm here just to show you kind of where they are in the forearm. So so you got these two bones that are like this. This one here, the ulna, you can just trace it up here from the very point up to this this little knobby thing there, which is the other end of the ulna. This makes a hinge joint with the humerus, with the upper arm bone. So all it does is this. That's just all it does. It does not move, it does not turn, it does not move from side to side. It is a hinge just exactly like a door is. You know, it's just, it is built like this. So, but the other one, there is actually it's a complex joint. There's two parts. There's where the two bones meet here and here. There is half the joint is right down here, and the other half is up here where they meet back. And what happens is that the ulna, which is here, with the point of the elbow, goes to the pinky. Let's do it here. It is the axis of rotation. The other one turns over. So hopefully you can see with this how I can turn at the elbow. And this is not a wrist rotation. The wrist will not turn. If you hold the arm still, and you can't turn your hand around like that. It won't move like that at that point. You can go up or down and side to side and, you know, around in a circle, but you can't turn. So all the turning, well, not all of it, because you have some at the shoulder rotation as well, but the lion's share of the turning happens at the elbow. So hopefully you can see how this line here is pretty much always straight, and this line here pretty much turns right over. That's just, you know, so if you hold the sticks, you know, like monkey bars, or, you know, handlebars or whatever, and start to play like that, you'll be fine. You know, it's sort of like the Stevie Wonder group. You know, and there's going to be, you're going to have no problem in terms of repetitive motion playing like that. These muscles are huge, basically. You know, and so the range of motion that you have with this turn, you have all the way from this angle all the way to that. So you got about 180 degrees of rotation just at the elbow, and you have another 90 or so, 110, when you allow your shoulder to rotate as well. So you have, you know, 270 degrees available of arm rotation, just like that. You know, so you're not gonna, you're never gonna get to this point where you're, you know, unless you're trying to play the underside of the cymbal. You know, that might hurt, but yeah. So, you know, you're just not going to be approaching the limits of, you know, the physical limits of your body like Weinberg Jr. is doing, but that hurts already.